So, dear students, in the last class we were discussing about electrostatic potential due to a charge, right? If we have a charge, we will have electrostatic potential around it. The charge that we had yesterday was capital Q, and the electrostatic potential surrounding that region was V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R, where R is the distance from the charge to the point where we are finding the electrostatic potential due to this charge, right. So, this is when we have a single charge in the system, and if we have more than one charge, or before going to the system of two charges, what if we have a negative charge? Because what we have now is a positive charge, right? And what if we have a positive charge, have a negative charge? Say this is the negative charge minus Q, okay? Keep this in mind. If we have a positive charge, the potential in the region surrounding that will also be positive. If we have a negative charge, the potential in the region surrounding that negative charge will be negative itself. So, the potential at certain point, which is at a distance r from this negative charge minus Q, will be V is equal to minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R. Okay, keep that in mind. Potential due to a positive charge is also positive, and potential due to a negative charge is negative. So, now this is when we have a single charge. This is the single charge, and V is the potential due to this single charge. What if we have a system of charges, more than one charge? So, if we have a system of charge, say n number of charges in our given system. See, this is very similar to what we did with electric field, if you can remember, right? We actually got to know the value of electric field for a single charge first, right? And then we applied the same concept to a system of charge. The same thing is done here, right? Now, say this is charge Q1. It can be positive or negative. If it is positive, potential due to that is also positive. If it is negative, potential due to that is also negative. So, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 and so on, Qn be the n number of charges in our system. Okay. Now, let this be the point P where I need the potential. Okay. If I had only one charge Q1, then the potential at this point would be very simple, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 by R over, right. But here we have n charges in the system. These n charges individually give their contribution to the net potential at this point. Okay. So, making use of superposition principle for a system of charges or system of n charges, the net potential due to these n charges V is given by, it is simply the scalar sum. Okay, because when we were discussing about field, electric field, it was the vector sum of individual fields, right. But here potential is a scalar quantity. So, no need to go for vector addition and all. It is simply the sum of individual potentials due to individual charges. So, V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3 plus V4 plus so on plus Vn. Following? Now, what are these V1, V2, V3, V4? Now, this is actually again with the implementation of superposition principle. You should be aware what is superposition principle. It is very simple. When you have a system of charge, or n number of charges in the given system, the potential due to a single charge is not affected by the potential due to the other charges, right? V1 is not affected by the presence of Q2, Q3, Q4, following. And similarly, V2 potential due to charge Q2, V2 which is V2 is not affected by the presence of Q3, Q4, Q1, Q1, following. So that is what is superposition principle. The individual potentials are not affected by the presence of other charges. So now let me write the expression for V1 that follows for all the other charges. V1 is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 by the distance between Q1 and P shall be given a name, which shall be taken as R1. So similarly, for Q2 let it be R2, for Q3 be R3, and Q4 it is R4, Rn. Now I will write the expression only for V1, 1 by 4 pi epsilon Q1 by R1. Now if I put the expressions of V2, V3, V4 written similarly into this equation, the net potential due to all the charges put together is equal to V1. Okay, I'll directly write it in summation form. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is common from all the terms, right? Because all of them are kept in the same medium. So 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is common for all the terms. What is left inside is summation of I is equal to 1 to n Q I by R I. So this is the expression for the net potential at a point due to n charges or n number of charges in the system. Be careful here, we have to consider the sign of the charge, because if we have a positive charge, the potential will also be positive. So V1, say Q1 is positive, V1 will be positive. If Q2 is negative, then V2 will be negative itself. So that makes the net potential at point P lesser compared to when both of them are positive, following. So and even the negative charge itself can dominate, and hence we can have a resultant or the net negative potential itself in the point P, following. So whenever you put the value of charge here, unlike what we did with the forces, because when it comes when we were discussing about the forces, we did not consider the sign of the charges, right? Here we have to consider the sign of the charges and put them here. Then only we will get the proper net potential or total potential due to all the charges. Positive charge, positive potential; negative charge, negative potential. Understood? Right. Now let me take an example and give you the idea about this. Say we have this point P here. Now I will give these charges certain values. Let Q1 be 1 nanocoulomb and Q2 be minus 2 nanocoulomb, Q3 be say 4 nanocoulomb, okay, plus 4. Let Q4 be minus 5 nanocoulomb, okay, and the distance from P to Q1. Let the for simplicity I will keep the distance same now. They can be different, okay. Now for simplicity I will keep R1 is equal to R2 is equal to R3 is equal to R4 is equal to 1 meter, okay, just as an example. Now only 4 charges are present now, Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. Now if I put all these values into this, net potential V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 by R1. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is common from all of them, so which is 9 into 10 to the power of 9. I will take that out. What is left inside is Qi by summation of Qi by Ri, which is Q1 by R1 plus Q2 by R2 plus Q3 by R3 plus Q4 by R4. What is first term? The first term is Q1 by R1. Q1 is 1 nanocoulomb, 10 to the power of minus 9. divided by R1 is 1 meter plus. What is Q2 there? It is minus 2 nanocoulomb. Keep that in mind. So, due to this negative charge, the potential contributed to this point will also be negative. So, I will replace this plus sign and put minus 2 into 10 to the power of minus 9 by 1. 1 is the distance, 1 meter. Now, this is Q3 is plus. So, it is plus 4 into 10 to the power of minus 9 by 1. Again, Q4 is minus 5, which makes it minus 5 into 10 to the power of minus 9 divided by 1. Following? Now, 10 to the power of minus 9 is common and will get cancelled with the plus 9 of this 9 into 10 to the power of 9. The terms left inside are 1 minus 2 plus 4 minus 5, right. So, 10 to the power of 9 will cancel with minus 9 here inside the bracket. So, what is left inside is 1 plus 4 5, 5 and 5 will cancel, minus 2 will be left, which is equal to minus 18 volt or minus 18 joule per coulomb. Joule per coulomb is also a valid unit for volt for potential. Volt is also fine. So, this is how we obtain the potential at a point when a system of different charges are given. See, now we have 2 positive and 2 negative. Potential due to these 2 positive is positive. Potential due to these 2 negative charges is are negative. So, together this is how we get the net potential. This is important expression and you have steps in between. You follow them in the reference book, the study material given and practice the complete derivation. So, next we will continue the same format what we did with the electric field, if you remember. There also first we discussed the electric field due to a point charge, a single charge. Afterwards, we went for the discussion of electric field due to a system of charge, n number of charges, and what is the electric field due to those n number of charges, right. And after that, we went for deriving an expression or 2 expressions for electric field due to a dipole, right, not on some random point, but actually on 2 lines, one on the equatorial line of the dipole and the other on the axial line of the dipole. So, now even now we are going to consider a dipole and we will get to know what is the potential, electrostatic potential due to that dipole, following. But unlike in the previous case, now we are going to get the expression for this potential due to electric dipole at any random point in a region surrounding the electric dipole given, following. In the previous case, when we were discussing about electric field, there it was only on the equatorial line and on the axial line, no some random point chosen. But here, while discussing about the electrostatic potential due to electric dipole, we will be getting the expression or writing the expression for electrostatic potential at any random point given. Okay, say here is the dipole. So, anywhere you can choose the point and get to know about the electrostatic potential due to that electric dipole. But yeah, we are not going to derive it because it is not given in the syllabus, right. So, no need to worry about the derivation part of it, we will directly consider the expression because derivation is lengthy. Yeah, you will get to know, it is actually there in the reference. If you are interested, you can go through that, but it is not actually there for your boards, right. So, that is why I am avoiding that derivation. I will directly write the expression for the potential due to the electric dipole. Basically, what is a dipole? 2 equal and opposite charges separated by certain distance, plus q here, right, plus q and minus q here, separated by the distance 2a, if you can remember, you must actually, Okay, so 2a is the distance of separation. Now this is the equatorial line, right? Right, from the center we always used to get the distance for the point that we consider. Let me say this is the point where I am trying to find the electric field, electric potential due to this dipole. Okay. So both this positive charge and this negative charge will contribute for the net potential at this point. Anyhow, we are not going for the derivation of the formula. I will directly write it, but this is how it is actually. Okay. So the distance from the center of the dipole to the point where we need to get the expression for potential, where we need to write the expression for electric potential, this distance be r. Okay, this be r, and the angle between the axial line and this r, this be theta. Following? In some references they will give theta on the other side, that is fine, no problem, right. So the angle between axial line and the r is theta. Now this is some random point chosen, not on the axial line or on the equatorial line. Okay. So the expression for electrostatic potential at that point P is given by V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught P cos theta divided by r squared minus a squared cos squared theta. So now here, what is this P? P, this is point P, okay. This small p is the electric dipole moment of the given dipole, right. Remember what is electric dipole? Electric dipole moment P is given by 2aq, the product of distance of separation between the charges and the magnitude of either of the charge q. So distance of separation is 2a and magnitude of either of the charge is q. The product gives us the dipole moment of the given electric dipole. Now this gives the general expression for the potential at this point P at any point chosen, okay, with angle theta. And now see, there are certain special cases here, okay. There is a derivation for this, but you do not need to go through the derivation. You can actually refer it once, do not need to memorize it, okay. It is not there for the boards, so no need to worry about the derivation part of this. But now going ahead, there are certain special cases for which can be taken out of this expression. First special case is when r is very much greater than a, which means the dipole, electric dipole that we are considering should be very short one, okay. When the electric dipole is very short, the distance we consider from the electric dipole, center of the dipole r, will be very much greater than a, right. So r very much greater than a physically means the given electric dipole is a short one. So which means it is a short electric dipole. So when we have a short electric dipole, so sometimes they also ask you to write the expression for electrostatic potential at any point chosen due to a short dipole. Specifically they ask you for a short dipole, but I always suggest you to remember this formula first, and then you can actually get to know what is the expression for short dipole just by substituting a as 0 in this expression, right. So it is quite simple. See, when r is very much greater than a, out of these two, r square dominates a squared cos squared theta, right, because the maximum value of cos squared theta is 1 and a squared is very small. R squared will be dominating this term a squared cos squared theta. So we can actually neglect this part of the expression a squared cos squared theta, right. Once we neglect the a squared cos squared theta part, V will be 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught P cos theta divided by what is left in the denominator, simply r squared, right. So, this is the expression for electrostatic potential due to a short electric dipole, right. Now, the second special case, is when the point given lies on the equatorial line. Okay. If the point given lies on the equatorial line here, right. So, when the given point lies on equatorial line, what happens? Look at this. Again, we will be sticking with short dipole itself. Within short dipole, when the point is given on the equatorial line, that is what we are actually discussing. So, the point is here, which means the angle theta with respect to the axial line will be 90 degree for this case, right. So, theta is equal to 90 degree. Come here, cos 90, 0, 0 and anything 0. So, electrostatic potential due to an electric dipole on the equatorial line is simply 0 volts, right. So, very simple. Now, let us analyze it in a way of system of charges, right, from the previous derivation. See, what that previous derivation gave us, the net potential at this point is equal to the sum of potential due to this charge and this charge. Potential due to this charge is equal to potential due to this charge in magnitude when the point lies on the equatorial line, right, because from this point both plus q and minus q are at same distance. It is an equilateral triangle when the point lies on the equatorial line, right. So, when the point lies on the equatorial line, this distance and this distance are equal, and anyhow charges are also equal. That makes the potential, magnitude of the potential equal. And now, the magnitude of the potentials are equal, but the kind of charges that we have are opposite. This is plus, this is minus. So, we will have plus V minus V, the sum becomes 0, right. So, it is also valid even when we consider the phenomenon of due to system of charges, potential due to system of charges. Moving ahead, the next and the last special case, when the given point lies on axial line. So, this line, when the given point lies on the axial line here, what is the value of theta? Theta is 0 degree. It can also be 180 degree, right. If it is 0, so which means theta can be either 0 degree or 180 degree. So, here cos 0 1, cos 180 minus 1. So, the possible values of V here is V is equal to plus or minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, plus or minus 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. What is left here? Simply P by R squared, P by R squared. So, this is the expression for electrostatic potential due to a dipole on the axial line. Got it? So, this is the base expression, the basic expression that you should remember, and these are the special cases. Even these expressions are also important, but I always suggest you to keep this expression in mind, and these are all can be easily derived using this expression just by simplifying the values, right. So, and here look at the way in which the potential is varying due to a dipole. See, when you have a simple charge, a single charge, okay, for a single charge, for single charge, V is inversely proportional to simply R, right? V is simply proportional to 1 by R, because V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by R for a single charge. But for a dipole, see, for a short dipole, V is actually proportional to 1 by R squared. Should keep this in mind. This is a special case. I mean, something different. We are actually comparing the expressions of potential due to single charge and potential due to dipole, and this is what we have. Due to single charge, V is proportional to 1 by R. Due to a dipole, V is proportional to 1 by R squared. Keep that in mind. Right, next, let's see new topic, equipotential surface. Right, what is equipotential surface? Very simple, as the name itself says, we can get it through the etymological meaning itself. It's a surface where the potential is equal on all the points of the surface, right? It's a surface with any kind of surface. It can be, say the surface is spherical, then any point chosen on the sphere will have same potential. Got it? A surface with equal potential at all points on it. Okay, a surface with equal potential at all points on it is equipotential surface. Now, which means that, so let me explain a bit more. Say this is point A chosen, and let this be the equipotential surface. It's actually an equipotential surface for a point charge kept at the center of this sphere. Okay, if we have a point charge kept at the center of this sphere, we will have equipotential surface in the form of a sphere surrounded by that. So now, say this is point A and this is point B, and now the potential at point A is equal to potential at point B. Quite simple, right? Because the distance of separation from the center to or charge to A is equal for both A and B. The distances are equal, and the charge is also equal, same charge for both A and B. So that makes the potential at A equal to potential at B. So this is how we put so many dots, so many points, and the final shape that we get is a sphere, right? So potential due to this charge is equal at all the points on this surface. VA is equal to VB. What does that mean physically? Physically, that means that if I want to move a charge from point A to point B, say from here to here on this path, like this. If I want to move any charge, some charge Q from point A to point B, since the potentials are equal at point A and point B, I don't need to do any external work. Following? When we have equipotential surface, in order to move a charge on the equipotential surface, one doesn't need to work for the phenomena to happen, or one don't need to work or do the work, external work, in order to move the charge from one point to the other point on the equipotential surface. So now let us see how the equipotential surfaces look like for different kind of charges and different combination of charges. Let me start with a charge, positive or negative, a point charge at a point. So the equipotential surface due to this point charge looks like this. It's concentric spheres. Okay, because this is the charge, and this sphere, on this sphere, the potential is equal at all the points. Now if I go from this point to this point, the potential is something new, which is actually lesser than the potential at this point, but on the line of this new sphere, or on the surface, actually on the surface of this new sphere, all the points has got equal potential. Similarly, if I come to this surface, it's actually a surface, you should imagine it in 3D, right? So the last surface will also have all the points on the last surface will also have equal potential, right? Like this. The potential difference exists for this sphere and this sphere, but potential difference doesn't exist for 2 points on the same sphere, because that sphere is equipotential surface. So there the potential is equal for a given sphere. So that is why it makes concentric spheres for a point charge. Now if I have a pair of positive charge, okay, for a pair of positive charge plus q separated by certain distance, okay. See now, what do you think? How does it look like? See, now this is positive, this is also positive. If I choose certain point here, okay, or let me take at the center. So if I choose certain point at the center of these two positive charges, there will be certain potential which is double of the individual potentials, right? So V from this together it is 2V. Now I need an equipotential surface. I need the same amount of potential close to this charge on this side also, because I want to make equipotential surface. So the point chosen should be close to plus q, right? Because I need 2V. If I go for the same distance on this side, this is V, but here we have 2V. In order to get 2V, I need to bring this point closer to plus q, right? So this is how the equipotential surface look like, and the same case with the other side also, like this. Now the same thing follows. Yeah, sorry for that, they don't intersect, okay. Two equipotential surfaces never intersect, keep that in mind. So it's actually this is how it happens. So this is how the equipotential surface look like for a pair of positive charge, and the same kind of equipotential surface is valid even for a pair of negative charges. Even if we have negative charge, then also it will be the same. Now when I have a dipole, electric dipole, plus q minus q, okay. So at the center of the dipole, obviously the potential will be 0, right? Because plus V from this side and minus V from this side, it will be 0, right? Plus q minus q. At the center, no potential. So here, yes, there is potential, but which is lesser, right? Because this point is influenced by this negative charge. So here, say I have certain potential V1, and at the same distance here I will have more potential, right? Potential at the same distance of here will be more compared to this point. Why? Because this is influenced by this negative charge also, more influenced by this negative charge, which will make the potential lesser here, plus V1 minus some certain V2 due to this. So in order to get the lesser potential, I need to move away from the positive charge. Somewhere here I will have same potentials due to this positive due to the dipole here. So now I can draw the equipotential surface. Similarly for the negative charge also, this is how it looks like. So this is the equipotential surface for an electric dipole given. Now the last and the final, when we have uniform electric field, right? When we have uniform electric field in a given region, say in a room, one of the wall shall be entirely positively charged, the other wall shall be entirely negatively charged, and hence we will have electric fields going exactly like this, which are actually uniform. The value of electric field is equal at all the points chosen. So for uniform electric field, this is how we actually represent uniform electric field, right? So for uniform electric field, the equipotential surface that we get is parallel rectangles like this. Okay. Something like holding a book, right? So this is equipotential surface, and this is how the electric fields are going. Now obviously at all these points the electric field is same, right? And the potential will also be same. When you have same potential, you don't need to do any work to move a charge within this surface. So for uniform electric field, the equipotential surfaces look like this, parallel rectangles, uniform electric field. This is pair of positive charge or pair of negative charge. This is for electric dipole. And now a few properties of equipotential surface. One of that is two equipotential surfaces never intersect each other. Okay, and the second property is the electric field lines are always normal to the equipotential surfaces, right? So that is what we can see here. The field lines are like this, and the equipotential surface is like this. So field lines are normal to the equipotential surface considered. So even here, if I write the electric field lines for this arrangement, they actually look like this, right? And you can see that at all the points where the electric field lines meet the equipotential surface, right? These are electric field lines, okay? And these electric field lines are passing through the equipotential surface, and at this point you can see they are normal to each other. I mean, the field line is normal to the surface. Even with this, it's the same way. So it's normal. Electric field lines are normal to the given equipotential surface. This is the second property. And there are few more. And it takes no external work to move a charge on a equipotential surface, which means that now here these are the equipotential surfaces. I don't say this is the book, this book is the equipotential surface. I don't need to do any work in order to move a charge within this on this equipotential surface, right? That is why I call this as equipotential surface. Similarly here, if I want to move a charge from here to here, no work has to be done, and even on this. So those are the three properties. You remember them. It's easy. The first, two equipotential surfaces never intersect each other. Second, electric field lines are always normal to the equipotential surfaces. And the third, no work has to be done in order to move a charge on the equipotential surface. So these are the properties. Remember them. I think you also have one more which I have explained here itself. You can go through that, and you draw the equipotential surface you draw the electric field lines for this equipotential surface. okay, for this one and for that one. It's easy. Okay, right.